Hi, and welcome back to my Introduction to Expression Web series. In this video, we're going to go ahead and give a basic overview of the main Expression Web window and how to control the different parts of the window, as well as how to create sites inside of Expression Web, how to manage those sites, and to create pages inside of those sites. So let's go ahead and get started. Here you can see Microsoft Expression Web, and this is roughly going to be the way it looks when you open up Expression Web if you don't have a website open. Now, there are several main parts of the Expression Web window, and if you're looking at your Expression Web window and it looks a little bit different than mine, don't let that worry you. You'll see how to control it and how to make it look exactly the way you need. And again, a lot of this is going to be personal preference, how you actually configure your windows. But coming up here to the top, you're going to see we have a number of menus here, and I'm going to be referring to those menus quite often in this video series. And then we have a couple of toolbars below that. And if you've used other, especially Microsoft applications, a lot of these toolbar buttons will be very familiar to you. We're not going to be emphasizing the toolbar so much in this video series. For the most part, I'm going to be telling you to go to the menus just because it's easier to verbally describe going to a menu than it is to describe a button in its position. And then you actually have the main part of the Expression Web window right here. Now, most of the tools and features inside of Microsoft Expression Web are contained in what are called panels. And we actually have three panels open right now. The folder list panel, and then I also have tag properties and CSS properties. We have those two panels that are open as well. You can't see them right now because they're collapsed, but they are open. Now, all the different panels that are available inside of Expression Web can be accessed and turned off and on by going to the Panels menu right up here at the top. And you'll see I have folder list right here, and the very first thing on our panels menu is folder list, and if I click that, it'll disappear. If I want to bring it back up, I can simply click on folder list right there. If I was to go to another panel here, like let's say behaviors, you may see another panel open up inside of your window. Now again, you can turn these panels off by going to the panels menu and just looking for the items that are checked and clicking them. But another way to turn them off is to click the little X right here, and you'll see that closes that panel as well. And again, most of this is just going to be personal preference as far as how you configure your window to work the way you like working. Now, right now I have three panels open: folder list, tag properties, and CSS properties. But you can see right now I can only see the folder list panel. If I want to see tag properties, all I have to do is hover over it. And if I hover over CSS properties, I'll see that. And you can see the name is changing right over here as I hover over these different elements. When I leave the panel, those disappear. If I hover over this and click the little thumbnail right here, the thumbtack right here, that's going to go ahead and turn that on and lock it in place. I can click on tag properties here and click that little thumbnail, and you'll see that one opens up and stays in place as well. So now I have the three panels open and I can see them all at the same time. If you want to hide these panels or collapse these panels but not turn them off so that they're available to you, you just simply click the little thumbnail here again, and you can see that item went over there. If I click that again, it opens back up. So now I'm back to where I just hover over these two panels to see them, but I can see folder list at all times. And the folder list panel is going to be something we're going to be using in absolutely every video, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that open. But again, if you need more space in your window, you can always click that thumbtack and then just open and close it as feels appropriate to you. So again, how you configure your window is entirely up to you. Just be aware of how you turn panels off and on and how you can make them stay open or collapse as I have them here. And again, since we don't have a website open, you're going to see the folder list right now is completely blank. And then also down here in the lower right hand corner, you're going to see a few more tools that we'll talk about in just a little bit. But that's a basic overview, and actually I need to open up my folder list there because I do want that to stay open. And that's just a basic overview of the Microsoft Expression Web window. Now, and again, don't forget that you can come here to Panels and turn things off and on as need be. And this wouldn't be a bad place to come and just explore and try different things out. You can see how they open up. Now, the first thing that you need to learn to do inside of Expression Web is to create new sites and to create pages within those sites. Now, every website is going to be contained inside of its own folder. And that folder is called the local site folder, or some people call it the local root folder. And I'm just going to call it the local folder. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to actually create a local folder to place our new website in. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize Expression Web here, and you can see I'm here on my desktop. I have a few existing folders right here, and again, you can download these from my website. There's the completed version of the project along with all the images and resources that we're going to need inside of the framework. But I'm just simply going to right click here and do New Folder and create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Fullerton Sample Site Working Copy. And I put working copy there on it so I could differentiate it from my completed version over here. So it's going to be this folder that we go ahead and place our website inside of. Well, once you have a folder created that you can put your website in, you can bring Microsoft Expression Web back up, and we're going to come here to the Site menu up at the very top. And the Site menu is going to contain all the different commands that you're going to need to use to manage your websites. And you can see the very first option right here is New Site. So we'll go ahead and select that. And I want to go ahead and make sure General is selected here and Empty Site. So General and Empty Site. And the location down here, basically we need to use the Browse option to go find that new folder that we created. You always want to place your websites inside of a new folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Browse, and you can see the dialog box that's come up here. I'm going to go ahead and go to my desktop, and I've got a lot of folders on my desktop for a lot of different projects, but you can see where is it there? There's the completed version, and there is Fullerton Sample Site Working Copy. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click on that, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that I'm inside of that folder. One mistake that people commonly make at this point is they just highlight the folder and they don't double click on it. You need to double click on it to actually go inside of it. And we can then go ahead and click Open and OK. And that's going to create a new website inside of that empty folder that you created on your desktop. And you're going to see over here in your folder list panel, you have that very top level folder, which is again usually called the root folder or the local site folder or the local root site folder or something like that. Now, as you're working with websites, one of the worst things that you can do is start adding pages and images and different kinds of resources to your website without any organization. And just like you would need to organize your documents folder on your computer so you can find things, you're going to need to create some folders to organize your website as well. And I'm going to suggest several folders that everybody is going to want to create when they start a new web project. Now, you could actually go directly into the desktop and create those folders using the Windows interface like I created the original folder. But you can also do that from Microsoft Expression Web. I'm just going to go ahead and right-click up here at the top and select New, and you can see an option there for folder. And the first folder that I'm going to go ahead and create is going to be called Images. And that's going to be where I'm going to go ahead and place all the different graphics that I'm going to use for my website. And you can even break that folder down more. You could create another folder inside of Images for your banner images, for your navigation images, for if you have a web image gallery, you could create a gallery folder in there. So you can create as many folders as you need to organize the content inside of your website. The second folder that I'm going to go ahead and create here is going to be called CSS. And I'm going to place my CSS style sheets, which if you don't know what those are right now, don't worry about it. We're going to talk quite a bit about CSS in this series. But I just like to create a folder to put my style sheets all in one place so everything is nice and organized. And in the same way as I create a folder for CSS, I'm going to go ahead and create a folder to put my JavaScript components into. So I'm going to right click again up here, select New and Folder. And JavaScript folders are usually called just JS. Whenever you're inside of a website, if you see a folder called CSS, that's going to be where your CSS style sheets are. If you ever see a folder called JS, chances are that's where all the JavaScript components for a website are going to go inside of. So we went ahead and created an empty site on our desktop, told Dreamweaver to create a website in that empty folder, and now we've gone ahead and created 3 folders to organize the contents of our website. And again, as you go on, if you see a need for creating other folders, either directly in your main site folder here, or to subdivide these folders down like your images folder here, you can feel free to do that. A lot of people will create a folder for PDF documents or other types of documents that they add. You're free to, again, create whatever folders you want inside of your website. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we need to create a page inside of our website. And again, you can do that by simply right-clicking here, selecting New, and HTML. Now, HTML is the basic language that we use to create the structure for our web pages. And again, we're going to deal with 3 different languages really in this series. Mainly we're going to deal with HTML and CSS. We're also going to look at a little bit of JavaScript. Not necessarily so much how to write it, but how to use JavaScript. There are 4 different aspects to every website that you create. 4 different aspects to every website. There's a structural aspect to every website. And again, this is the structure, the underlying structure for the different pages that you create. And you always create structure using, or you normally create structure using HTML. The second aspect of every website is what's generically called presentation, or the way a website looks, or the way your website appears to your visitor. And presentation involves really 2 different aspects. One is formatting, and the other is positioning. We need to control not only the way our content is formatted, the way things, the fonts, the font sizes, the background colors, all that good sort of stuff. We also need to use our presentation to control the positioning of the different elements. Like, where should the header go? How should the sidebar be positioned? The margin and padding on different things. So the second aspect of every website is going to be presentation, which is both the formatting as well as the positioning of the different elements. And just as we use HTML to form the structure of our pages, we use a language called CSS, or cascading style sheets, to create the presentation, the formatting and positioning of the different elements. The third aspect of every website is content. And this is the text, images, tables, links, PDF documents, all the content that you want to actually show to your site visitors. And the fourth aspect of every website is action. What does the website actually do? And this could be anything from the fading banner, like you saw in our sample website, to an image gallery, to what happens when you click a submit button on a form. And action can be accomplished using a variety of different tools, but what we're going to focus on, and what most websites use to perform different actions, is a language called JavaScript. And to sort of cement this in your mind, you can think of a building as a model for a web page. Every building has a structure, and that's going to be the beams and the pillars and the overall structure of the site. And again, we create that using HTML. Well, then once we have the structure created, we're ready to start with the presentation, or the look and the feel. And in our building metaphor, this would be things like the paint, the carpet, putting the glass on the windows, making the structure look nice. And then once we have the building actually painted and carpeted and sort of ready, we can begin to move content into our building. And in the same way, once we have our CSS written, we can begin to work more with the content that's going to be on our page, such as the text, the images, the tables of information, the links, all that good kind of stuff. And then finally, action. You can think of the different things that go on in that building, or the different things that the content can do inside of that building. And again, we accomplish that in a web page largely using JavaScript. So your structure is in HTML, your presentation is going to be in CSS, any action or any thing you want the website to actually do is going to be in JavaScript. Now, that gives us sort of a nice division of different elements, where you're able to separate your content and structure from your presentation, and also your content, your structure, and your presentation from your action, from your JavaScript. Ideally, in a larger website, you're going to also separate the structure from the content. And at that point, you start to get into the topic of database-driven websites, which is beyond the focus of this course. But you can sort of see how the different elements go to building up a website. Now, again, coming back here, we've gone ahead and created our first HTML page in our site. And I'm just going to go ahead and name this one index.html. Now, a few rules about naming items inside of a web page, or inside of a website. First of all of your folder and file names should always be in lowercase. They should always be in a lowercase. Stay away from uppercase letters. It won't always cause you problems, but sometimes uppercase letters will cause you problems depending on what you're exactly doing. You want to stick with, again, lowercase letters. You can also use numbers, but with just a couple of exceptions, you want to stay away from symbols. You want to stay away from using things like dollar signs and percent marks and so on and so forth. The two symbols that you can successfully use or safely use in your website are going to be dashes and underscores. And oftentimes dashes and underscores take the place of spaces, which should also be avoided in naming your different folders and files inside of your website. So you can use lowercase letters, numbers, space, dashes, and underscores, but you should stay away from symbols and spaces and uppercase letters. Now, as far as a folder goes, you're just going to give the folder a name like we have here. But as far as the different types of documents that are inside of your website, they're always going to end with a file extension. And just like Microsoft Word documents end in .doc or .docx, or Excel spreadsheets end in XLS or XLSS, the extension tells us what kind of document or what kind of file a particular document is. And in this case, I've ended my index page with the extension HTML. And all of your web pages should end in either .html or .htm. Either one works. You should be consistent in using one or the other. You can mix them up, but it's easy to get confused at that point. And then again, just like Word documents or Excel spreadsheets, a period separates the file name from the extension. So we have index.html here. If you're using CSS, your CSS files will also have a file extension, but instead of being HTML, it's going to be .css. Your JavaScript is going to be named, whatever the name of the file is, .js. So right now, remember those three file extensions: .html for web pages, .css for cascading style sheets, and .js for your JavaScript files. And remember, only files need the file extension. Your folders will not have any file extensions. And later we're going to talk about images and the different types of image formats that you can use in your website as well. So here we have it. We've gone ahead and we've created a new website inside of Expression Web. We've placed several folders inside of that to get ready for different types of content that we're going to work with. And finally, we created an initial page in your website. Now, one other point before we leave this topic. You can name your web pages whatever you want. You know, I could call a web page bob.html, or I could call it contact.html. But the very first page inside of your website should be your home page. And this is the default page that a browser will open up when it goes to your domain. So in other words, if you go to www.timothytraining.com, what web page initially opens up? And the answer is your home page. The browser knows what the home page is because it is named something very specific. Your home page should be called index.html. On rare occasions, some servers are set up a little bit differently to name a web page something, your home page something a little bit different, like default.html or home.html. But it's a pretty safe bet your home page should be called index.html. Now, when you're finished working with a site, you can simply go to the Site menu and select Close, and that website will close exactly like a Word document might. And this takes a little bit of getting used to, because if you're used to working with Word or Excel, when we go to Open, when we go to Close, we're always going to be going to the File menu. And File actually does have an Open and a Close button, but that's used for opening individual web pages or individual files, or closing individual files. When you want to open an entire site up to work with an entire site, or if you want to close an entire site, you're always going to come here to your Site menu. So keep in mind there's a difference between opening a site and opening up an individual page. And just as we selected New Site from here to create a brand new website inside of that empty folder, if you were to go to File, New here, this lets you create new pages or new folders, but it doesn't let you create new sites. So keep in mind there is a difference between the File menu and the Site menu. Now, we closed our website. If I want to reopen it, very simple. You can go to the Site menu and select Open Site. Now, when you select Open Site, it's going to bring you to this dialog box here. And this is the list of managed sites that you have inside of Expression Web. And again, yours may be empty right now because you haven't begun working with any sites. But you can see I have been working with Expression Web here, specifically on this project. And we do have a number of sites that are here. But if I want to open up a specific site, all I have to do is click on Browse here and go find my site, which in this case was on my desktop. And there is my site. So I double click on it and then click Open, and then Open, and your site will appear. And normally once you've created or opened a site, the site actually will be in that managed sites list right here. So in that case I could just simply click on a site and click Open, and it would open that up. And in this case I'm getting an error because I deleted that earlier, but you see the point. If I go to the Site menu and select Manage Sites List, I can see all the sites here. And this first EW website, well, that's actually gone. That doesn't exist anymore. So I can click Remove to remove that site from the list. And I could add sites manually to this list as well. But it's easier just to go ahead and open it up. And that should add that site to your managed sites list. And again, that option is right here where it says Add to Managed Sites List, and you see the little check mark right there. If you were to uncheck that when you opened a site, it wouldn't be added to your site list. But I can go ahead and click on Browse here, and there's my working copy, and open, and my site reappears. So that's, in a nutshell, a basic overview of what websites are and how we manage them with Microsoft Expression Web. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and begin to learn how to add content to our pages. We'll see how to add text, how to add images, how to create links between pages, how to set up tables of information, your basic content types that you're going to see on a web page. So I'll see you in the next video.